But the Kentucky Hemp Museum was formed back in 1995. It was formed to help educate the people at a very, very grassroots level. We were going to county fairs and taking the van and setting up educational displays. We were going to Rotary Club meetings, Kiwanis Club meetings, Optimus Club meetings, Chamber of Commerce meetings. The invitations got to be overwhelming, where now, instead of us looking for places to go to educate the populace on hemp, that we were now being called and summoned to come to these meetings. So throughout the state of Kentucky, from Pikeville to Paducah and all in between, we made just about every university and special engagements and educated the people on the crop, while these Fortune 500 companies are looking into how they can retool their factories and grow this crop and manufacture different things out of it behind the scenes. Okay, what they did is the farmers took, this is a piece of equipment that they used to break the hemp into fields back years ago, and it was shopped up behind them like corn shops. So what they do is get an armload of the hemp, and this is the fiber that was broken on a piece of equipment like this. What they do is they take armloads of this, since we're not allowed to grow it, I can't develop armloads. So this is a handful, and so they put it in here and they break it like this here. You see the woody part falling out of it, that was called the hurd. It still is the hurd. They take that, and what they do is they would clean all this out.
Okay, hello,
Clean out, and it would end up like this here. These here was very long. They were like, if the hemp grew 10 foot tall, these here were folded in half, and they would be roughly 5 foot. They'd fold them in half and work the hemp out. And the way they did it, they just take it like this here, and keep pulling it out, just like this, until they got all the woody part out of it, just like this right here. And if you feel of it, it feels real soft, really. So then they would take this, and I don't have a hackler with me because they're real sharp, and then they would comb it out. And when they combed it out, then they would lay it over to the side, and it was shipped to the places to make rope. This oakum right here is the short toe from the hemp fiber. This is probably 60 years old. It's made 1930s, early 40s. But it's the short fiber after it's been hackled out in the old-time combing process of hackling. And the short fibers was used for towing ships. And what they did were the ships were overlapped, and they were shiplapped. They would stick this up in underneath there where there might be a crack and fill it in like a backing compound that we use today. What we use today is made out of styrofoam, and you see a lot of it around door jambs and different things like that. But this is oakum. It can be used today. They used this around old-time plumbing. Back when we used to use lead plumbing and the bale type, they would stuff this in around the bale where the two pipes is fit, and then they would lead joint it together. So that's what oakum was used for in modern day time, of the 50s and 60s, all the way up until the outlawed hemp. Oakum was used for plumbing. In the old days, it was used for shipping.
Interesting. Thank you.
The question was that how would this help Kentucky's economy? Well, Kentucky's economy today has been severed. We're having a budget crisis. When you sit out here and you take an agricultural crop like tobacco that has a multiplier of 7 times, if a farmer, the multiplier is when the farmer cuts his crop and the crop is being sold, that this crop will go through the economic indicators 7 times. There's a multiplier. So if the farmer loses half of his crop that's valued at $10,000, then the multiplier of that through the economy is $70,000. So if you take the farmers in this state that's lost $500 million in the last 2 or 3 years, that multiplier is 7 times 500 million. That's $350 billion. That's ridiculous. And so the multiplier on hemp, we've checked into it, and one of the things that we looked into is it's probably a multiplier of 10 in some areas. The multiplier won't hold steady like tobacco, because tobacco went from the farmer through the process to smoking, and there was an end result. In hemp, if we were growing it for, let's say for an example, if we were growing it for car parts, The car industry in Kentucky, there's several big factories here. So I do have a car part up here. It's made from Chevrolet Lumina. We got it from Canada. I've seen car parts. It's replacement parts for Corvette. It's made in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So we've actually severed ourselves from a multi-billion-dollar cash crop just in one area, and that's in automobiles alone. The parts that would go into the automobile industry made from hemp would be then a recyclable product. So then again it comes back through the economic base. And so here we are, we're talking about an environmental crop that will help clean up the air, it will help clean up the soil, it will add value to the farm, it will build industries. There's patents that can come up from this because nobody has any real clue of what we can do with the hemp, but foreign countries do. So there's going to be new patents developed. And every time you talk about one new patent, I think it includes about 1,000 jobs automatically with one patent. So if you had just jobs are continuous. So the museum and library, it's actually the Kentucky Hemp Growers Cooperative Museum and Library. And we've made progress and been able to educate the people and show these different products and work with international businesses to obtain these different products to show what's going on in the world and what's not happening in America. 30 industrialized nations around the world grow industrial hemp. England is growing 250,000 acres of hemp to make car parts for Ford Fiat that's made in England. What happened in the hemp industry in 1988, the World Summit, the environmentalists got together in the world, and they held a meeting and said, what's going on with the hole in the ozone? So they came out of there with suggestions, and one of them was growing agricultural crops for paper. Hemp, sisal, jute, and flax. And then they looked at all those fibers, and one of them that they looked into was hemp, because hemp can be grown at something like 5,000 feet altitude. It can be grown. It's not an equator type crop like canal for sisal. Sisal comes from Russia. You can't grow sisal here. Flax has to be a crop rotation once every 5 years. So what they looked at is hemp is something that can be used around the world in all of these areas. So what happened in 1988, the Europeans and everyone else, because of the General Agreement on Trades and Tariffs and some other things that was coming down the line, they got into the hemp business fast because they're more eco-friendly, more environmental friendly to the world. The Germans are a green country. They jumped on it with both feet. And some of these countries never had stopped growing hemp, period. Regardless of what the United States said in their foreign policy, they still grew hemp. I just came back from Canada the other day and picked up 1,200 pounds of feed for our cattle, the hemp-fed beef. A lot of people laugh, and we were on the front page of Lexington Herald Leader, and they made fun of them and said that we had happy cattle. Everybody laughed about our happy cattle, our hemp-fed beef cattle. We got cattle that's high. We got cattle that's this. We heard it all. But there is one thing about it. We do not have mad cows, and this is one thing we've got over on our federal government. They fed their cattle that got mad with animal parts, animal brains, animal spinal cords, whatever else they fed to the animals. What we're doing is we're feeding them hemp, a high protein substance, without adding animal parts. And we got it from Canada, which knew better about adding animal parts to their feed, and that's how the mad cow got here. If the Canadians would have used the hemp seed meal to feed their cattle with, then that's one more agricultural crop that Canada would have had in their use for feeding the cattle, and we wouldn't have ended up with mad cow in this country. I mean, this is a high protein source of food that we've got outlawed, while at the same time we have groups saying, give to my group so we can feed the rest of the world. Well, hell, let us grow this crop. We'll help you feed the rest of the world. Let the rest of the world grow this crop, and the rest of the world can feed itself. When you take away natural resources, and you take away the very essence of the natural resources from the earth, then you have to depend on the man in great big letters, to give you commodities. Here's a government commodity, like they're feeding the Indians out there. Here's your commodities. Come down here, get your food stamps. Come on down here and get these commodities. Yeah. You know, I mean, it won't let us grow a good food. So altogether, the Kentucky Hemp Museum and Library has tried to educate people on different areas.